There is a place in the ocean where even fish refuse to go, not because they see a predator, not because they are injured, but because their bodies sense that something is wrong. As they approach this area, fish begin to slow down. They hesitate. Many turn back. This place looks empty, silent, almost lifeless. And once a fish enters it, survival becomes a countdown. So what is this place? Why do fish avoid it? And what happens if they don't? This place in the ocean is not a myth. It is real, and it exists in many parts of the world. Scientists call it a dead zone. At first glance, a dead zone doesn't look dangerous. There are no sharp rocks, no massive predators, no violent waves, but something invisible is missing. Oxygen. Dead zones are areas of the ocean where oxygen levels drop so low that most marine life cannot survive. Fish don't see oxygen. They don't smell it either, but their bodies are built to detect it. As fish swim closer to a dead zone, their gills begin to struggle. Their muscles receive less energy. Their movements slow down. This is the moment when most fish turn away, not because they are thinking, but because their bodies are warning them. Inside a dead zone, water still looks normal, but breathing becomes harder with every second. For fish that accidentally enter, escape becomes difficult. Weakness sets in, reaction time drops, and predators waiting at the edges take advantage. This is why dead zones feel empty, not because life never existed there, but because life learned to leave. And the deeper we go, the more deadly these zones become. Dead zones do not always form naturally. Many of the most dangerous ones are created by human activity. When rivers flow into the ocean, they carry more than just water. They bring fertilizers, sewage, and industrial waste from cities and farms. These nutrients cause massive growth of algae in the water. At first, this looks harmless. The water turns green, plant life increases, but the real danger comes later. When the algae die, bacteria begin to break them down. These bacteria consume oxygen, large amounts of it. Slowly, oxygen levels in the water drop, and that area becomes a dead zone. Fish that can swim fast often escape, but slower animals cannot. Crabs, starfish, and bottom-dwelling creatures get trapped. As oxygen disappears, their bodies begin to fail. This is why dead zones often feel empty, not because life was never there, but because life was forced to leave. Scientists have now identified more than 400 dead zones around the world. Many of them are growing larger every year. Some have become so massive that local fishing industries have collapsed. And this is no longer a rare problem. It is spreading. When a fish enters a dead zone, nothing dramatic happens at first. There is no sudden attack, no visible danger. The water looks the same, but inside the fish's body, things begin to go wrong. Fish breathe by pulling oxygen from water through their gills. When oxygen levels drop, their gills work harder, but get less in return. Muscles receive less energy. Reaction time slows. Swimming becomes exhausting. The fish begins to panic, not emotionally, but physically. Its body switches into survival mode. Heart rate increases. Energy reserves drain quickly. But there is no oxygen to support this effort. If the fish does not escape quickly, weakness takes over. Predators that can tolerate low oxygen often wait near the edges of dead zones. They don't chase, they wait. Because prey inside a dead zone is slower, confused, and vulnerable. For smaller fish and bottom-dwelling animals, escape is often impossible. They suffocate, not because there is no water, but because there is no air inside the water. Some species try to adapt. Jellyfish, for example, can survive in extremely low oxygen environments. Certain bacteria thrive here. But for most fish, dead zones are biological limits, not challenges to overcome, but warnings to turn back. And this is why fish avoid these places. Not by choice, but by instinct written into their bodies over millions of years. Dead zones are not just a problem for fish. They are a warning sign. When oxygen disappears from the ocean, it means something deeper is broken. The ocean produces more than half of the oxygen we breathe. It controls climate. It feeds billions of people. Dead zones weaken all of this. As these zones grow, fish populations shrink. Fishing communities suffer. Entire food chains begin to collapse. And the most worrying part, dead zones are increasing. Warmer ocean temperatures reduce oxygen levels. More pollution flows from land into the sea. More nutrients mean more algae and less oxygen. It becomes a cycle that feeds itself. Scientists now warn that if this continues, some ocean regions could become permanently unlivable, not just for fish, but for ecosystems humans depend on. The ocean has always adapted slowly, but human impact is happening fast, too fast. Fish avoid these zones because their bodies understand something we often ignore, that survival depends on balance. When oxygen disappears, life does not fight, it leaves, and if it cannot leave, it disappears. These empty zones are not natural deserts. They are reminders that the ocean is alive, that it has limits, and that crossing those limits has consequences. The ocean does not speak, but through dead zones, it is sending a message, one we can still choose to listen to or ignore.